Hello everyone, and welcome back to Conspiraseed. First off, I'd like to apologize for last week. I was still pretty sick, and then I kind of got, down in the dumps because I was sick, and then I just didn't really feel like making a video. I know I should have, videos pre-made for situations like that, but I'm more of a live-in-the-moment kind of guy. Anyway, this week, we'll be talking about a disturbing murderer that my friend actually asked me to cover. Shout out Darren. I got a lot of this information, pretty much all of it, and some of the clips that you'll see from an Explore With Us video on YouTube. I actually got a lot of my info for the Sunderman stabbing video from them as well. I'm going to link to the video down below in the description so you can watch it yourself, and I actually recommend that you do because at the end, well, I'll explain why at the end. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today, and let's get into it.
Nothing like being subscribed to Conspiraseed on YouTube. Nothing like it.
February 28th, 2021, 2 a.m. The Grand Junction, Colorado police get an odd call. They go out to the Colorado River and find a car floating in it. The car belongs to Brian Cohee. Brian's mom, Terry, and Brian's father, also named Brian, are there with their son. Brian's story is that he parked on an inclined boat ramp, got out for a bit to take in the 1 a.m. view of the river, and then got back in. When he tried to get the car back up, it couldn't get any traction, and it went straight into the water. He said he's not injured, but he is cold. He says that he's also the owner of the life jacket program for the area for the river, so he was embarrassed that it happened to him. The cops make light conversation as to how they would even approach getting the car out. They've called multiple tow truck companies, and so far none of them said that they were willing to get in the water to get it out, especially not at 2 a.m. on a cold February morning. Terry, his mom, mentions that they waited until Brian was 18 before they let him get his license, so he's an inexperienced driver, as he's only 19. Eventually, the police are able to get a hold of a towing company that is willing to try their best to pull it out, and at this point, now that the tow truck is here, they let the Cohees take Brian home so that he can warm up and change out of his wet clothes. The parents come back, of course, to make sure that the car is pulled out and to deal with the towing fees and such. However, the police have just made a discovery. Bloodstains dripping down the back of the car from the trunk. The police ask if Brian had mentioned getting hurt when he crawled out of the car, but his parents say that he didn't mention anything, and that they didn't see any wounds either. The cops have his parents call Brian just to make sure that he has no injuries. The adrenaline running through him could have made it so that he just didn't feel them. Brian acts shocked to hear that there's blood on the back of the car and says that he's not injured and would have no idea where this blood came from. The police, with no other evidence of anything else, release the car back into the Cohees' custody. March 1st, the next day, the police are back at the boat ramp after a report of a missing homeless man by the name of Warren Barnes brings them back. They talk to someone named Monique Lenati, the person who made the report. She said that she owns a local business called Monique Bridal, and she gives Warren a chair to sit in and read every day. She mentions that she hasn't seen him for days, despite having said, "I'll see you tomorrow, Warren," when she saw him last, and he agreed to the meetup, saying that he would be there. She said that someone found his wallet on the boat ramp, but that's weird to her because Warren would never go this far out of town, and she knew him better than anyone. She says that she decided to report him missing because his place of employment called, asking if she had seen him, because he hadn't shown up to work. But up until this point, in his 4 years of working there, he's had perfect attendance. Another officer asks if maybe he did have a camp set up around here, and Monique is very insistent that he did not, and that she knows that he would never walk down this far, so to find his wallet here is odd. The officers also end up talking to two other people who own a local gas station, and say that they let him in before they opened to give him free coffee, and that he's always showing up at 6 a.m. every day, and they're also very worried because they haven't seen him. Monique gives police officers this photo, which is the only photo of Warren she has, in hopes that it's able to help their investigation. When asked about who found the wallet, Monique said that she was told it was, quote, "whoever runs the life jacket thingy," which, if you can recall from earlier, is Brian. She thanks the officers for her time, but her tone conveys little hope, and she's saying she has a bad feeling. She says she hopes that Warren's okay, but that she just wants to find any sign of him for closure. When police finally do find out who called in the missing wallet, they find out it was actually Brian Sr. He said that he found it in a really unlikely place. He found it in the Ford that they had pulled out of the river the night before. With the blood found on his trunk, the wallet, and her son's curiosity of all things morbid, Terry decides to go investigate. Police then receive a call from her. She has just found what she believes to be a human head in Brian's closet. You can hear the dispatcher trying to get as much information as possible from her, but she is pleading to just send officers right away.
911 is John. What's the address emergency?
Hi, there is an emergency. I found something in my son's closet wrapped in a plastic bag.
Okay, what was it?
I think it's a human head.
It's a what?
I think it's a human head.
Why do you think it's that?
Because it looks like it's all an ear.
Is it bloody or does it like anything like that?
Just tell you to come. Do I have to take a picture and send it to you?
What's
Can
the
you just
address?
come?
During this time, she says that Brian's outside the house, having just pulled up in his car. She mentions that they wanted to make sure that he was there before they called the police, so that they could question him. She goes on to say that Brian does have a fascination with the morbid, but that she was under the impression that he was going to use it to become a crime scene investigator. Not necessarily a crime scene put togetherer. We hear her say that Brian might be armed, and she thinks he has a shotgun, but she's willing to make sure that she has it in her possession before the police arrive because she's pretty sure it's in his room. She says that she removed the head and the bag from the closet and put it in the kitchen sink, and that there's another bag, but she hasn't opened it and she doesn't know what's in it. Police are dispatched to the scene, but in order to not alert Brian to their presence too early, or not to make him nervous, they pull up with their sirens off. They walk up to Brian, who is still outside, with a "What's going on, man?" to not sound too confrontational and try to keep a calm atmosphere. The first real question the officer asks him is, "I heard your parents might have some concern about something they found in your room?" To which Brian responds, yeah, I believe so." The officer then asks, "And what would it be?" To which Brian takes a second to think, then responds coldly with a human head and hands. Take a look at that footage here.
Okay, so parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
The police then put him in the back of a vehicle. It's important to remember, as an officer at times like these, that you don't want to ask too many questions, as the person hasn't been read their Miranda rights yet. Brian is taken down to the jail for questioning. Brian's mom begins to break down on the front lawn, and the officer asks Brian's father permission to enter the house to see the remains. They walk in the house together, while another officer and Brian's brother comfort his mother out on the lawn. The dad explains that he covered the sink with a towel because they didn't want to look at the head, and they didn't want Brian to see it and run. The officer moves the towel, opens the bag only for a split second, throws the towel back on, takes a deep breath, and just says, "Yep," before walking out of the house. At this point, at the jail, they interview Brian, Brian's father, and Brian's mother. Brian asks the officer if she's okay with him not being in cuffs, and she says that she feels comfortable with him not being in cuffs, as she doesn't feel he's any danger to her. I'm not going to go over the interviews at all, because I want you to go watch the Explore With Us video, where they do a full breakdown of all the interviews, and again, that's linked in the bio. It's an amazing video. I highly suggest it. Brian goes to trial in 2023, 2 years later, and pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. He's been diagnosed with ADHD, autism, anxiety, depression, and an unspecified schizophrenic disorder. After only 2 weeks of trial, on February 4th, 2023, and after only 2 days of deliberation, a jury finds Brian Cohee Jr. guilty of first-degree murder. He was 19 at the time of the crime, and 21 when he's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. That means that Brian Cohee Jr., at the young age of 21, will spend the rest of his life and die within the walls of a prison. Besides the interviews themselves, that's the story of Brian Cohee. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Remember to share with your friends if you think they would also enjoy. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.